Today, we're going to go over Embrose, Dean of Shadows. Now, for this guy, I didn't really look too much at his abilities. I kind of wanted to go just off the name. So with Dean of Shadows, guess what I looked up? Shadow. And found the keyword shadow, which is creatures with shadow can only block and can only be blocked by other creatures with shadow. So I wanted to fill this deck with creatures that had shadow, but also things that benefited from me dealing combat damage to a player, because I know I'm gonna get in unblocked because who else runs shadows? Anyway, let's check it out.
Okay, so we're going to do the deck tech differently today. We're going to do it from the spoiler, preview. When you click right here, it brings you to this kind of page. And then I organized it by typing, so we'll go through it by each card type. We'll see how that goes. So for artifacts, we have just our basic ramping package right here. This card I threw in here because it has shadows in the name, so I did kind of a flavor direction. You'll see with this whole deck I kind of took it in a flavor direction. We'll save creatures to the end because of that. I don't have much in these other categories. It's mostly a creature deck, and you'll see why once we get to that. Sorceries, I just have some draw spells, and then Merciless Eviction is my favorite catch-all, board wipe of whatever your issue is. Planeswalkers, only have one in here because it has shadow in the name. Lands is just your basic Warzov, just fix all the manas. Instants, we just have a little kind of catch-all package. Between this and Merciless Eviction, should have an answer for most things. Right here you'll see a little bit of the theme that I'm going down with creatures, but we'll get to that in a sec. Enchantments. Blind Obedience I have in here because of his relationship with his son. Here's another card that goes with the theme. I think you'll probably know by now. I'm doing a shadow theme for this deck. Since he is the Dean of Shadows, I thought it would be funny if we make it so my creatures are mostly shadow creatures. Since they're shadow creatures, they're also probably going to be unblocked most of the time, so I wanted to put stuff in there that kind of works with that. That's what these two are in here for, so I can attack and get the triggers off of them. So let's go into the creatures now. Starting off, so this guy right here is in here because it's triggering off of your creatures dealing combat damage, and since your creatures are going to have shadow, they're not going to be blocked. So let's go to a guy that has shadow so I can read off to you the oracle text. So this creature can be blocked, can block or be blocked only by creatures with shadow. So essentially, if the creature has shadow, it can only block and it can only be blocked by creatures with shadow. So you're not going to be doing a lot of blocking with this deck. You're basically going to be on the offensive the entire time. And that's generally the direction you're going to go with this. Literally any creature that has shadows in here, but there's also some cool tech like this guy whose power is going to be equal to the number of shadow creatures on the battlefield. So since you have so many, he's going to benefit from that. Another thing that shadows tend to share is the Shade group, and the Shade group is known for their fire breathing ability. So I put a lot of mana doubling and just mana searching out and stuff like that in there, so that if you get these guys out, you can make them really large, give them shadow with something like something like this, and then have them attack in unblocked. There's actually a lot of white creatures too that have shadow. And overall, you can have your entire creature base all have shadow. Cards like this, dealing combat damage, your guys are going to be doing that because they're going to be unblocked. So yeah, and then Ambrose's abilities are really just going to be like value on top of everything, putting counters on another creature as long as it doesn't kill it, like with one of these like fire breathings and stuff like that. And those counters are going to stick, but if you do end up killing it, then you end up drawing a card. So some of these guys are some pretty low toughness, so if you're really desperate for card draw, you can get that out of your commander, or you can pump up some of these guys that are unblockable. So let's give it a play test. Let's go with this shrine. Oh yeah, we'll keep that. So we're gonna go tapped Godless Shrine next turn, land Arcane Signet next turn. How much is our commander? 4. Not playing him yet. He's 4. 4. I guess we don't have anything. We'll keep up swords, say we end up using it on something. Booyah. Let's just throw that out. Next turn, we'll throw Smothering Tithe out. Probably get some treasures, say just 1. And then 3, 4, 5. If we got lucky with more treasure, then we throw out Encounter Revenant. Otherwise, probably just throw out the commander. Yeah. And then between this going out, doubling our mana, this going out, fogging, and getting a bunch of guys that then we can pop off with the commander to draw more cards, or just read the bones. And get those shadow guys out. Start getting larger. Alright, that's gonna do it for this episode.